Hello, friends and neighbors. We are finally here. Next week, I will start the new video series and we'll be having weekly Zoom classes. But if you don't want to attend the Zoom class, you can get all of the content from the videos that I post online. So the series is called The Last Days. Now, 2 years ago, I did a class, we did a Zoom class on the book of Revelation, and we didn't talk about any specifics. We just went line by line in the scripture. We tried to flush out, exactly what it really said, some of the things that it doesn't say, but it was all very vague. I did not support any particular rapture theory or anything like that. But in this series, I'm going to be extremely specific, and I'm going to give you my opinion. And one of the things that I absolutely hate is when people teach on a subject, especially a controversial subject like the last days or the rapture. And they do not, when they teach it as if they are teaching scripture. But when you read the scriptures they give you, that's not what it says. So I think we need to be very honest and say when something is our opinion, because we can't always assume that our opinion is as good as scripture. So, and especially when it comes to the last days, there are so many opinions, and people are very, almost obnoxious sometimes about if you don't agree with their opinion. So I'm going to show you the scriptures, and I'm going to give you my opinion. But one of the most important things we're going to do is to look exactly and see what the scripture says, and then you can form your own opinion. But we are not going to make the scripture fit my opinion, okay? So, and the reason why I think this is so important is because, one, because people are very confused about what the book of Revelation says, what the timeline might look like, and they're overwhelmed by it and don't even begin to study. So I'm going to try to make it very, very simple, and I'm going to start out as if there were people in there who know nothing. But I won't spend a lot of time on that, but I will try to make it as simple as possible. And another reason I think it's very important is because I think there is a huge danger in us being locked in on it looking like one particular way. Because this reminds me of Israel when Jesus came. Many thousands and thousands of Jews did believe Jesus was the Messiah and followed him. But make sure my phone's turned off. Most of them, especially the hierarchy of Judaism, they did not see him as the Messiah. And do you know why they missed him as the Messiah? Because he did not look like what they thought he should look like. He did not do and behave in a way that they had preconceived in their mind that he would behave. It did not happen exactly like they thought it would happen. And we are in danger of doing the very same thing. People are adamant that their rapture and last days theory is the hard truth and nothing else. So what happens if what we believe is not right. Will we be like Israel, a lot of them, and turn our back? In other words, what if we follow after the wrong Messiah? Because the wrong Messiah is doing things more like we thought. And you'll understand this more as we go through it. But there is a huge danger of people losing all faith in the Bible if the last days does not pan out like they think. If they are so sold out on one particular theory and it doesn't happen like that, they will think they can't believe anything in the Bible because they have been told that certain things are in the Bible and that's how it's going to happen, but they've never looked for themselves. So we're going to look in the Bible because what I want you to be able to do, and I'm going to have all of these things printed out so you can print it out and have a paper copy. If something happens, and things are like on the verge of happening right now, like the next 6 months are like a powder keg. The whole world is a powder keg right now. And if something happens and the world starts moving in a direction that you thought the Bible said it would not do, if things don't turn out like you thought, I want you to go back and watch these videos. I don't want you to lose hope in Scripture because you had your theory and your timeline wrong. I want you to be able to have something in the back of your head that thinks, maybe I was wrong. It's not the Bible that's wrong. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was taught wrong. So that's what we're going to do. So real quick, I'm going to go over the popular last days timeline. Now, if you saw the survey that I shared, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, a survey like across the whole nation, the statistics showed that 33% of all pastors believe in a pre-trib rapture. And that means at the beginning of a 7-year period. 33% believe the rapture is not literal at all. And then I think like 17 to 18% believe the rapture is at the end of the 7 years. And then the rest of them I don't know what to believe. Some of them believe the rapture is in the middle of the 7 years. But I believe in our area, and most of my friends and the people who are watching are from the Bible Belt here in the Midwest, and mostly Protestants. They have a popular timeline that we have all believed most of our life. Now, I'm going to go over that timeline real quick. Okay. They believe that an Antichrist will appear, a smooth-talking, problem-solving man, charming man, who will come to solve the world's problems and keep the world from exploding. As in what's happening in the world right now. This is the perfect timing for an Antichrist to appear. So they believe that this man, this person, will sign a 7-year peace treaty with Israel. He will allow them to build their temple in order to stop all the wars. They will believe he is their long-awaited Messiah, so he would have to be a Jew. Then they believe that the Ezekiel 38 war happens, either like maybe right before this or right after, right before the peace treaty and the rapture, or right after. And the Ezekiel 38 war is a prophecy in the Old Testament where it says Israel's enemies and people from the north will come down to come against her and destroy her, and God will wipe them all off the earth. So they believe that happens right before the rapture or right after. So then the next thing on this timeline is the rapture. All the Christians will rise in the air to meet Jesus, go to heaven, and live in mansions. Now the 7-year tribulation starts. They believe that the whole 7 years will be the wrath of God and a great time of trouble and persecution. They believe that halfway through this 7 years, the Antichrist will expose who he really is because Satan will have entered him. He will turn on Israel. He will go into their new temple and desecrate it. He will say that he is God, and then he will start destroying Israel. They will have to run to the mountains for safety, and God will keep them safe. Half of them. The Old Testament says half of them will be destroyed. Some will stay there and pledge to the Antichrist. They believe then the Antichrist will start chopping people's heads off who do not worship him and take the mark of the beast. It will be hell on earth for 3.5 years. When the total 7-year period is over, Jesus will return, throw the demons in hell, and Satan is locked up for 1,000 years. For that 1,000 years, which is called the millennium, Jesus will live on earth in Jerusalem, and peace will reign on the earth. After that 1,000 years, Satan will be thrown into the lake of fire, and there will be a new heaven, a new earth, and a majestic new Jerusalem. And then God will live on earth with us for eternity. So, after spending years and years studying this, I have a few problems with this popular theory, the whole plan. And that's because I have found that some of it is not in the scripture. Some of it is opinion by some man, some preacher along the way, and everyone picked it up and down through the years has accepted it as gospel. So we're going to be going through all of this. We're going to, one thing, the very first example I'm going to give you is in believing that the Jews will believe that the Antichrist is their Messiah. And so that means the Messiah has to be a Jew. Well, I have looked everywhere in the scriptures, and I asked on Facebook, does anybody know where the scripture is? There is no scripture in the Bible, or even a hint, that the Jews will believe the Antichrist is their Messiah. That is not biblical. So that is one thing on this theory that is man-made and not biblical. So we're going to talk about what ethnicity or where the Antichrist could come from. There are a couple other theories, and we're going to talk about them both. Another problem is the Ezekiel 38 war. If you read Ezekiel 37, 38, and 39, there are some troubling facts in those 3 chapters that makes this war not fit into this timeline. To me, it looks impossible if this is at the beginning, but we will go through that scripture by scripture and look at it. We will discuss the rapture theories. Now, I want to say, and I said this in the Revelation series, you can find scriptures that kind of make every one of the theories look probable. But we can only do that if we take those scriptures out of context. So, one thing that I'm going to brag on myself. When I teach something like this, when I study something, I do not take my theory, what I have been taught all of my life or wherever I got it, and find scriptures to support that. When I study something like this, I study everyone's theory. I read books that support my theory. I read books and studies and research that support the other theories. I look at them all fairly, and I look at scripture for all of them. And I know that most people do not do that. When you're going to teach something, you already have your mind made up what it says, and you find the scriptures to support that. And I do not believe that is fair nor biblical. I believe that we need to look at everything and consider if there is some truth there that we have not seen. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about who the Antichrist might be. We're going to talk about the 7-year peace treaty. We're going to talk about these in detail. The Ezekiel 38 war. We're going to look at the rapture theories, and I'm going to tell you what I believe. But I'm also going to look at a theory that I have never considered before, and we're going to look if it could possibly be true. And it's the one that will probably shock you. But I am not 100% sure on the one that I believe is right, but I believe that we are at the last days, and every month that goes by, we see more and more signs. And so if we just watch what is happening and compare it to Scripture, I believe we can get a clearer and clearer vision of what is going on. So we're going to talk about the temple, and I believe, and we're going to look at it, I believe that the Dome of the Rock does not have to be destroyed for the temple to be built. I know they already have everything they need for the temple. And I'm pretty sure, and I'll find out before we get to that part, they are even already building parts of the temple and storing it so it can be assembled quickly. So there are still 2 red heifers that are able to be used for the ashes of the red heifer to purify the Temple Mount before building the temple. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about every aspect. We're going to talk about the chopping off the heads part. And I'm going to tell you some things that I have found shocking that I have never considered before. And it's just like I'm seeing more and more of it. I just think you're going to be very surprised, and I want you to consider the things that I'm going to bring before you and see if it doesn't make sense. So that is it. This is just the introductory video, and the first Zoom class is next Tuesday. So what I like to normally do is to release a video or 2 a week, and then have the weekly Zoom class after that so we can discuss what we watched on the video. But the things I'm sharing in the videos are so shocking or controversial that I want my Zoom class, I want to present it to my Zoom class face to face so they can stop and ask questions as I go along. So that means our Zoom meeting starts Tuesday nights at 7. And that means that I will already have the video made that I will be sharing with the general public. So I will either share it around 8 o'clock that night after we get out of the Zoom class, or first thing Wednesday morning. And I think, or maybe even, I don't know, I'm thinking about releasing the videos as a YouTube premiere. And what that means is it's released as a YouTube live. So whenever when the YouTube video starts, and I'll share it on my Facebook page live at 7, and then when the video starts, it will be a pre-recorded video, but I will be in there. And as you are watching the video, you can ask questions or comments, and I will be at my keyboard and I can respond to any questions as you watch the teaching video. So I'll work all that out next year. So next week, not next year. So I'm going to tag all of the people who asked me to tag them. And I'm just asking you to watch the videos and then form an opinion. I'm asking you not to ignore the videos because you're sure you won't agree with me. I'm just asking you to look at it and then form your opinion prayerfully. And for those of you who want to watch, but you don't want me to know you're watching, just know that I cannot tell who is watching. So please feel free to watch it anyway. So that is all, and I'll make up my mind exactly when I'm going to post the first video. Probably around 8 or 8:30 Tuesday night. So, but I will share that with you and let you know. Also, anyone who wants to be in on the Zoom classes, they're going to be Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Time. And if you've never been in a Zoom class before, you might want to practice. I will, anytime Monday, whenever you want, I can get online and send you a link and we can work on getting you in. Because if you've never done it before, it can be a little confusing. But I'll walk you through it. I'll be there on Messenger. You can call me on the phone. So if you want to participate in the Zoom classes on Tuesday nights at 7 and you've never done Zoom, just let me know. And if you want to be in the Zoom class, comment below that you want to be added to the list. We have a Facebook Messenger list that I send updates on. Or if you don't use Messenger, I'll tag you on Facebook somewhere if you want to be in it. So that's it. We'll start next week. I am very excited. I have been learning so much. My mind has been blown. And I keep thinking, I wish we could hurry up and start because I'm afraid things are going to start happening before we even have a chance to talk about it. I believe we're that close to some things happening. And of course, this would be much easier to teach if it were after the election because I believe this election is one of the most significant elections in the United States history. I don't even want to think about it. But we know that God has his hand on us. He has all this planned out, and if his plan is the harder path, then he will keep us through the hard path. So, all right. I love you guys, and I will see you next week. Goodbye.